Well, I'll start with we were coming off a very bad year last year. We haven't experienced too many of those, since I've been here. But, I think the one thing I'll tell you is we were probably one of the youngest programs in the country last year. And if failure breeds success, then we should be pretty good. So we experienced a lot of failure last year. But I will say the back end of our season last year, we started to grow up a little bit. We played better baseball. We won some series, swept a series on the road at New Mexico. Our pitching staff performed exceptionally well all year last year. We led just about every category in the conference, so that was great. And then so we were returning a lot of the bulk of our pitching staff. So we're excited about this year. We're tired of playing against ourselves. We're we had our last inter squad yesterday on purpose. We only played 4 innings because that's about the attention span that we had yesterday. We're kind of ready to go play somebody else, and our guys want to go watch the Super Bowl, the whole deal. But feel good where we're at right now. We have some really good returners, and looking forward to opening up at ASU.
What goes into, Coach, and good to see you, what goes into your scheduling philosophy for this team specifically this year?
Well, I think the one thing that, obviously, COVID hit, but before that, we were trying to go somewhere challenging every year, whether it's open up this season or one of our off weekends. We want to go somewhere that's going to be a regional type atmosphere. And so I think we started that really in the 17 season, trying to go, tougher places to play. In 2020, we went to Coastal Carolina, we went to Oklahoma on purpose, because we feel like, number one, our program at that point was starting to show that we could play at a regional level, and we still have that same ideal here, is that, we want to play in a regional atmosphere and kind of prepare us for postseason as well. So that's what goes into it. Going over to ASU is a great challenge. It's a storied program, great venue to play baseball. The fans are interesting, and so it'll be a fun atmosphere for us to kind of open up and play someone else. We're looking forward to it.
Did you identify last year that really, where did things kind of go downhill in particular, and why couldn't the offense deliver?
I think coming off the 21 season, we were pretty old. Our pitching staff was really young at that time. So I think we got fooled a little bit by the fact that, those older guys were playing the bulk of the innings, and some of the younger guys, like a Tino Betancourt, didn't play at all. And so he was forced into action, and, there was kind of a hangover from not playing, in the 21 season. Some of those guys that didn't get those experience, touch points during that season were forced into service last year. And also, quite honestly, is that I take full responsibility. We just didn't do a good job preparing our guys for last year. So we rebooted the program this fall and summer and early part of the spring, and we've demanded a little bit more. We've held our guys accountable, and we're looking forward to playing the season.
Are the players so young they forget about it the day after the season ends? Or how do you put it behind you and say that's done?
We haven't put it behind us. I want our guys to remember losing 38 games. We remind them all the time. I think that's one of those things that there should be a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth, and play with a little bit of chip on your shoulder, because we performed poorly and we coached bad, and everything was bad last year. So we do remind them a lot, and so we don't forget about it. We want to remember that because we don't want to experience that again.
What's your weekend rotation?
Right now it's TJ Fontaine on Friday, Chris Canada on Saturday, and Johnny Guzman on Sunday. So it's left, right.
You mentioned TJ Fontaine. He's going to be a starting pitcher, but he's also supposed to add power to the team. If you look at guys like Ohtani and things like that, does the success of someone like that kind of change projections for a guy like TJ?
I think so. I think one of the things is that we've had a lot of two-way guys in our program. But maybe not to his level. I think he's a viable professional prospect on both ends. We've had, guys like Alan Trejo's in the big leagues with the Rockies. He closed for us one year, but he wasn't going to pitch in the big leagues, right? But this is a guy that's kind of shown during his tenure here that he can kind of perform at a high level. And it's also been a process. He didn't hit a ton his freshman year, didn't pitch very little. And so it's been a process to get to this point. He's a joy to coach. He's managed it very, very well. It's a hard thing to do, when you're kind of juggling two positions like that at a high level. But I can tell you on the mound, he's progressed into probably one of the better Friday guys around. And offensively, and you might not think this is true, but he's displayed probably the most raw power I've ever coached in my career. The guy, if you come out and watch BP, it's pretty crazy. The police station does not like when he hits.
The depth of your pitching staff is also pretty impressive, especially the back end. What is the recipe of success for you pitching-wise in a game in terms of starters, innings, and then?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we've always talked about this is you got to build your pitching staff really from the back forward, and you want to shorten games. And I think we've done that with the group that we have. We have Kalena Sauer, who's a dynamic right-hander, Robert Brodell. Those guys are in the mid-90s. Eldridge Armstrong, all those guys. So all three of those guys are experienced guys that can, pitch, back-to-back days or twice during a weekend. And so what we've done is shorten the game. And that's kind of what we want. We want people on the other dugout that think, oh, well, we're only playing 8 today because you don't want to get to Sauer. Well, when you had a couple more guys that are pretty darn good, it's really shortened the game and bodes well for us. But we feel real good about the back end of our bullpen and some experienced guys that have some fuel.
Who are some of the top guys in the field returning?
I'm sorry?
Who are some of the top guys in the field?
Well, we'll start in center field. Cole Carrick, he's one of the top prospects in the country. Currently he's a switch hitter. He's probably, one of the best athletes in the draft. So he's kind of a guy that's, building from the middle of the field. Start with the pitching staff. And you add a dynamic center fielder. We're missing Irvin Weems right now on the field. He had an injury, so he was a freshman player of the year for us last year in center field. But so Cole can plug in right there. When Irv's prepared, you kind of have two of the best outfielders probably in the country that are playing the outfield, which is bode well for us when he does return. Catching wise, Pancho, another big prospect. Pancho Ruiz is our catcher. He's a returner. He's caught a lot his first 2 years. Another big prospect for us. Caden Miller at second base. Been a joy to coach. It seems like he's like 30 years old, but another switch hitter, can play at the top of the lineup. But he's kind of anchored second base for us since his freshman year. He's a calming influence in our program for sure. So. Then you add a kid like Xavier Gonzalez. It's a transfer from Southwestern Junior College, dynamic fielder, and so you're pretty strong in the middle. So those are some returners. Plus you add a guy that's pretty good, and then Tino Betancourt probably anchored first base for us. He's another returner. Mentioned him earlier. Sean Montoya in the outfield, Charlie Ree in the outfield, Tyler Glowacki. A lot of options to kind of play the corners. Third base is a couple freshmen will split time there, and Drew Giannini and Cade Martinez.
What's the biggest question left for you?
Offensively, I think for me, after a bad year last year, we got to get out of the gate offensively for sure. I think we do have a little more thump in the lineup. But we're not a power program by any means, but I think traffic's going to be moved a little differently than it was last year, where we can get balls into the gap this year, where last year was a lot of singles. We just couldn't move traffic.
How's the Mountain West stack up?
San Jose State's going to be probably one of the best teams in the conference. They're returning just about everybody. They're old. A lot of seniors and graduate students that are in that program. They're going to have the experience factor for sure. So they're going to be a test for us. UNLV is going to be very good. Fresno State's going to be we don't know yet because they lost some guys. But for me, San Jose State, you kind of got to circle them, and because they're returning a lot of guys that performed very good last year.
What's it like for a player like Cole who plays in Cape Cod? What type of opportunities is that? And then once you prove you can play there, what does that mean for us?
Well, it's huge. It's one of the reasons he's one of the top prospects in the country. He hit over 300 in the Cape. It's hard to do. He's one of the top hitters in the Cape, and so that experience that he had this summer obviously is a very selfish deal, for him personally. But what it does is brings a dynamic player in our program with some really good experience that help lead our program as well. So he definitely benefited. Pancho played there last year as well in the Cape Cod, and so kind of have those two that they had that really great experience really helps our program for sure.